Let me now introduce my guest in studio. We're talking about the state of the nation. I already asked you a question. What do you think the president should focus on in his address? And I'm waiting for your feedback on that, both on 2242 and using the hashtag CitizenExtra on social media. But joining me in studio, let me start from my far right there. We have the Senator of Nairobi County, Sakaja Johnson. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
And the Senator of Kakamega, Cleophas Malalah. Welcome to the program as well.
Thank you.
Two very young and I must say promising senators in that note, and I expect a very interesting conversation. And why I began with that intro is because they've been speaking on matters youth recently. Let's listen to what Senator Sakaja had to say about the 14-member team that has been named to lead the Building Bridges initiative and his concerns about the composition of that team.
91% ya Wakenya wako chini ya miaka 50. Kama kuna agenda ya kuleta Wakenya pamoja, haiwezekani bila kuhusisha vijana hapo ndani. Muliunda kamati na tulifurahi, lakini kwa hiyo kamati vijana wako wapi?
We call upon the two respected leaders to consider including youth in their team. We would love to see a youth from Kondele Market in Kisumu touring Murang'a County.
Senators, you have big concerns. Let me give you a chance to share why. You've told us you want to see youth. Why do you want to see youth? Sakaja, can start with you.
Thank you, Waiga, first of all, for inviting us. Incidentally, we were also together yesterday. You know, in another life, you wear a sports hat.
Yes.
And we were in Nakuru County.
Ah, yes. Got
for
the
Harris
match.
City Challenge. We want to congratulate Gor for winning, and for AFC for improving their game. And Gor is making us proud, even in the the continental championships, and we're supporting them as they go to Rwanda. But anyway, back to the reason why why we are here. Waiga, this country has had moments. There are certain moments that define a country. And each moment, a generation must play its role. The first moment for me was the fight towards independence. Young people were front and center, the tomboyers in the 20s. Mwai Kibaki was early 30s. And they were doing it under the guidance of the older generation. The second generation of Kenyans are those who then fought for multipartyism. That again was a moment for this country.
The second liberation.
Second liberation, which culminated in the constitution we have. Again, young people played their role. The handshake that happened between President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga was a moment for this country. A huge moment where they say that this cycle, this vicious cycle of divisive politics must end, you know. And the cause of our generation today is, how do we make sure that we unite all Kenyans? How do we make sure that we see each other not in terms of our surnames, not in terms of where we are from, but as a people? That is the cause of my generation and our generation. And so when we are appealing for young people to be included, ideally, young people should not be asking to be included. In fact, ideally, young people should be driving this. But of course, we understand that we have leadership, and we are glad that they started this thing. We are supporting the handshake completely. But there is no way you can be talking about the future of this country without having the greatest stakeholders of the future involved. And I think following our discussion and our appeals, I am sure, because I know President Uhuru Kenyatta has a soft spot for young people. He is not afraid of young people. Neither is Prime Minister Raila Odinga. We hope that the team that was named is a team of elders to advise, but we want to see a working group of younger people, people whose who have more of that future to experience, you know, being part and parcel of it. It's young people.
We'll see the fruits of what this team is.
It's only
together.
God who knows how long someone lives.
Yes.
But generally, those are the people who will see. So if you have a team where there's no one below the age of 50, honestly, and what I was asking someone is the motivation that was driving this process, the guilt of the past, that they want to correct the past, or is it the hope for the future? You know, so if you want to have a historical exposition of what went wrong, then you'll have people who are there when they saw Wailu started hating Kikuyus, etc. But if you want to move towards creating a sustainable existence for the future, then you need to have stakeholders of the future.
Of the future. Senator Malalah, come in. Let me get your thoughts as well. You've been very vocal about this.
I think I want to concur with my colleague, Honorable Sakaja, on this. Youth consist of 70% of the population of Kenya. And in the recent past, during the post-election violence in 2007 and 2017, it is the youth who have been going on the streets demonstrating. We are the ones who have been showcasing our anger through violence. We are the ones who have been barricading roads. We are the ones who know the reason as to why we were going on the streets. And therefore, it is quite ironical for you to have a committee which is supposed to sort out those problems and exclude the youth from the same committee. Again, it is our constitutional right to be included in any committee that is being formed. There is a constitutional right of a youth, a woman, a person living with a disability to sit in any committee. And therefore we are saying, if we want to heal this nation, the real players, the people who the post-election violence affected must be part of the discussion. How will you discuss about our future and yet the people who will live in that future are not seated in that table? And therefore we are saying that we are insisting as leaders, we want to be on that table. If we shall not be included, then we have agreed. We are going to form a parallel youth committee.
You've agreed with who?
With fellow leaders.
Senator Sakaja is...
Yeah.
Let me say this. I mean, it's something that is brewing and it's festering amongst many young people. You know, it doesn't have to be me in that committee. It doesn't have to be Cleophas. Yes. But we need to see people who represent our generation. And that's why I'm happy, because I know that that is not the last committee. I am sure the president has heard us. Of course, you know, we are privileged also to be able to speak to them directly. I'm sure the Prime Minister, we were with him yesterday, we spoke about it. They will be able to correct that anomaly.
Okay.
And even in creating that working group. But young people of today have woken up from the slumbers of apathy, and they're not willing again to watch their destiny pass them by or be designed by other people. It cannot be for us without us. It will not work.
It's interesting you've mentioned the president and Raila Odinga, Honorable Raila Odinga. Do we expect to see both of them today at the State of the Nation address, one? And secondly, do we expect to hear more details about the Building Bridges initiative? You were quoted in an article saying,
yes,
definitely expect that
definitely
to happen. Yeah. Can you confirm that? Do we have timelines, etc.?
I cannot go into the details.
Do you have the details?
because that is the work of the president. But number one, we expect to see the former prime minister together with the president. Of course, parliamentary protocol would not allow them to sit at the same place, or even for the prime minister, for the former prime minister to enter the chamber of parliament. He'll probably be in the gallery, at the speaker's gallery, just as a symbol that we are on course together on this agenda. The president's speech is expected to center around two things: the big four, and then the big one. And the big one is the handshake. You know, that is the big one. Yeah. And the reason I call it the big one is this: you know, we can do so much on the hardware in this country. You can build bridges, you can build roads, you can you know, do another SGR and extend it. But remember, in 2007, it only took less than 5 hours to uproot the railway. Unless we build the software, and the software is how we exist as a people. It is what values we have as a people. How I mean, are we Kenyans, or are we just 45 million people in the same borders? Are we a nation, or are we a nation of nations? Are we a nation of tribes? And until we get that right, everything else then becomes just mechanical. And that's why I say that is a big one. That is the most important element. But beyond that, we expect then the refocusing of our energies to work. To get the work done, the work of building bridges amongst communities, but also the real work of building our economy, creating a sustainable, resilient economy, so that we can create jobs for our young people. Our young people are really suffering. Waiga, the situation is really, really dire across the country.
But Waiga, as I agree with my colleague here, as we are building the bridges to a better Kenya, we need to, first of all, flashback and first interrogate the content of the TRJC report.
That's actually one of the questions I was going to talk about. I know lobby groups yesterday were asking that those should be some of the things the president should talk about.
Exactly, because we are tired of every season, every electioneering season. After we do an election, people are fighting. There's bloodshed. We need to go to the core of this issue. We need to understand what it is that causes fights after every 5 years, and we need to sort out that issue, whether we shall have to amend the constitution or we shall have to bring out legislation that is going to cushion Kenyans from shedding blood in future. Okay.
Gentlemen, even as you talk about changing of the software, there are those who say one part of changing the software would be to change the constitution, bring back the Bomas draft, and it's a discussion that's actually gaining a lot of traction, but a new narrative is coming out. There are those who say changing the constitution is giving the elderly or those who are retiring jobs. And I want to play for you two clips, one by Kotu Secretary General Francis Atwoli and Tharaka Nithi Governor Muthomi Njuki. These are their thoughts on the changing of the constitution and what it actually means. Let's listen in.
amend the constitution, tubadilishe katiba, tulete Bomas draft. Kitu kinaleta shida duniani ni mambo ya watu kuachwa nje. If we don't amend this constitution, where is Uhuru going to go and is young? Atasumbua watu wengine. We must amend the constitution to accommodate him somewhere.
I heard Atwoli saying that we should give an opportunity to Kenyans to consider changing the constitution to be able to cater for people who could be leaving office and people who could lose elections. In other words, that is implying that we should expand the executive. And we particularly singled out our President, Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta, that is going to leave office very young, and therefore he feels that we should actually change the constitution to be able to accommodate His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta after his term has ended. I want to appeal him not to make a mistake of allowing people who normally coalesce around power, who are afraid of this power going away, talking him into going back the route that has been taken by Rwanda and Uganda and other African countries that have got benevolent dictators who normally look for extension of office through change of constitution. Don't be talked into watering down your legacy that you're going to leave to Kenyans of a leader who is selfless, hardworking, and is very, very much for the people. And a president, but please, do not be allowed to go that route, because we make law for posterity, but not to serve positions for ambitious, either politicians, active or otherwise, or their cronies.
We're at a point in our nation where change is in the air. Senator Malalah, I'll start with you. Does what Atwoli said justify the narrative by some that all this is being done to give people jobs?
I think, Wahiga, that is why we want the youth to be involved and to be part of that committee. You can already see the kind of narrative that is emanating from such kind of reasoning. We need the youth to bring up new ideas, fresh ideas, because if you segregate and isolate the youth from this committee, I can assure you there is not going to be a Kenya which is united. Because without the youth, the country will never be united. Nevertheless, Wahiga, I want to say that the primary goal or the primary reason as to why we should change our constitution should not be to benefit certain individuals. The primary reason or the goal should be, first of all, to strengthen the independence of constitutional bodies like IEBC, like the judiciary. We want a system which is effective to ensure that such injustices like electoral injustices are not committed again. We need a constitutional audit to ensure that we strengthen and improve the efficiency of devolution. I think if we look at it from that point of view,
that will justify changing the constitution.
Exactly.
In your
but
view.
If we start looking at it as providing employment to certain people, I think we are losing the focus.
Senator Sakaja, it's easy to dismiss Atwoli. He often makes comments that are taken in jest, but sometimes they say that it is in jest when truth comes out. Is there a drive by some to provide employment opportunities for whether it's President Uhuru Kenyatta, Honorable Raila Odinga post-2022?
First of all, the Court Secretary General Atwoli cannot be dismissed. He is Atwoli. And he holds a certain, sphere of influence amongst especially the workers and many other Kenyans. There is some element of truth in what he's saying in terms of the motivation behind it. But, when you look at it critically, and for me, and I gave an example on Sunday when we were at St. Stephen's for the pre-Labor Day celebrations. Right. And I said, if you have a patient who's in the ICU and the doctor tells you that you need to do 1, 2, 3 to save this patient's life, you not hesitate. If it's a loved one, you not hesitate to do whatever is required. This country has been in the ICU in terms of the social fabric and how we look at each other. and whatever it takes for us to then ensure that we remit and put together that fabric that holds us together as a country, will need to be done, whether it is open in the constitution or not. For me, I feel that the biggest problem we have is the feeling of exclusion. And the feeling of exclusion is a feeling. It doesn't have to be empirically correct.
As long as someone feels excluded, that's right.
But there are many communities in this country that do not feel like they're part and parcel of the governance of this country. A winner takes it all kind of politics creates that and makes it fester. No matter who won the last election, beyond two or three communities, the rest of the country would feel excluded. In fact, there are certain areas in this country, even if you pay everybody a salary, so long as they do not see their person somewhere, they'll feel excluded. And that's just who we are as Africans, that's who we are as Kenyans. So when you talk about expanding the executive, for me, it should not be about reducing the powers of the president or about giving any individual jobs. But how do we ensure that as many parts of our country find expression, as many spheres of our society find expression and find a place within government, and then consider themselves part of government. Whether it is young people, whether it is women, whichever way you can create what you call a community of interest, they can feel part and parcel of this government.
That will make a difference. Let me take you back.
In fact, what Honorable Sakaja is fearing to say, I think part of the amendment of this constitution should be even having a presidency in a rotational manner, so that almost all tribal communities at least get a chance of being the president of this republic.
Is he misquoting you? Or?
He's going ahead of himself, because for me now, at this point, I don't think there's any merit in talking about the specific amendments that would come out. But because there are as many ideas as many people will bring in. I have my ideas, I think the Senator
might have his.
I think you need to strengthen. I think you need to strengthen the Senate. I think you need to have a one-term presidency, maybe for 7 years, and so that the president just delivers and doesn't think of re-election in the middle of his term. There are many ideas, but what we're saying is that let the conversation begin. And let Kenyans talk.
Okay.
Yeah.
Part of that conversation, we hope, will be tackled in today's State of the Nation address. And I want to put some graphics, a summary of what President Uhuru Kenyatta spoke about last year. He spoke on many things. There was about, maybe I'd say, a 40-minute address or so, but we've tried to summarize them. Let's put them up for you on the screen. He spoke about pledging support for the judiciary, the renewal of the IEBC. Remember, the IEBC had now come together properly. He gave devolution achievements. He spoke about the fight against terror groups in Somalia. He also took time to talk about the war on illegal drugs in the country. He mentioned an internal security assessment, talking about cattle rustling, poaching, etc. That was part of what he mentioned. Let's take a look at the others as well. Should be coming up on the screen. He also took time to justify what the administration had done to achieve the Jubilee Manifesto promises, talked about electricity, roads, healthcare, etc., the state of the economy, and he did delve into debt, and assured Kenyans that debt is not something that they have not taken into account. Foreign relations, war against corruption, the public wage bill, and he also spoke about the upcoming August elections, and we all know what happened after that. In your view, and I've briefly tried to go over these, are there issues here that you feel will recur in his speech this year, or are we on to other things? Is it the big one and the big four and we're done, Senator Malalah?
I think the focal attention should be the pledge on support of the judiciary.
Okay.
In the recent past, we've seen the judiciary being intimidated by the executive. I think it is a high time we implement the 2010 promulgated constitution and have an independent judiciary. We have seen a situation whereby the judiciary is issuing out orders, and orders are not being respected by the executive. And this habit has been now entrenched into the citizenry of Kenya. You've seen the other day, the lecturers were given orders to resume work, but they have defied. And they are saying, if you want us to respect your orders, then respect the 10 orders, demanding that the government should allow Miguna back to the country. And therefore, the law must apply in both scenarios. I would want the president to assure us today that he is going to strengthen the independence of the judiciary.
I want to play you what he actually said last year, briefly if we can, the president speaking about the judiciary, to get your thoughts on whether a promise made at the State of the Nation address can be banked, whether we are now guaranteed that that is how things will operate. Let's listen in.
Witnessed a momentous transition in the judiciary. Today, as we speak, we have a full bench in the Supreme Court, led by the second Chief Justice under the new constitutional dispensation. I take this opportunity to welcome the new Chief Justice, the Honorable Justice David Maraga, and his deputy, the Honorable Justice Philomena Mwilu. I reiterate to them once again the support of my administration to the attainment of an independent and honest judiciary.
Senator Sakaja, I wanted you to respond to what Senator Malalah had said and what the president had said. He says that he pledged his support to the administration that was leading the judiciary, but we thereafter saw an executive that was very publicly at loggerheads with the judiciary. What went wrong between that statement and the following months?
Number one, the doctrine of separation of powers requires that each and every arm of government respects the other arm of government, and it gives each arm its limits. For instance, the judiciary cannot injunct ongoing processes in parliament. The parliament does not interfere with ongoing work within the executive, etc. And you need that relationship to be strengthened. So it is not that one arm of government can strengthen another arm of government. The judiciary derives its legitimacy and its presence from the constitution, not from President Uhuru Kenyatta.
It's a standalone setup.
They're independent and interdependent. Because Parliament then exercises oversight over them. We approve appointment of judges, etc. So that relationship is what needs to be strengthened and harmonized. And a lot of that strengthening, Wahiga, does not happen formally. A lot of that strengthening would happen when the heads of those institutions, behind closed doors, understand each other. When government action is being injuncted ex parte, and I think you've heard of some of the injunctions, even against illegal brews, whatnot, then you create a bad relationship between the institutions.
So you're calling this what, a misunderstanding?
It's a misunderstanding between the three.
It looks more than that.
No, it's a misunderstanding between the three, because in terms of the kind of support you can get from the executive to the judiciary, number one, it's budgetary support. The judiciary's budget has been going up every single year from 2013. And they have their financial independence to use the money as they should. When it comes to court orders, obeying them and not, everybody has an argument around that. I think all court orders should be obeyed, but I also think judges should give court orders that can be implemented. So that relationship does not depend, and we need to really change that kind of mentality that it's President Uhuru or the executive that will build the judiciary. No, it is not. The judiciary is an independent institution.
Okay.
In fact, there is no amendment you can do on our constitution to make it stronger than it is. We have one of the strongest judiciaries in the world.
Okay.
But what we need is a better understanding. First of all, starting with the leadership of the three arms of government.
Okay. Senator, I'll give you a chance to respond to that. We have had, though, complaints by the judiciary on funding. That is one. And secondly, we also know that in the supplementary budget, their funding was also to be cut, in addition to other sectors as well, or ministries.
The budget process has, number one, your wish list. Yeah, then you have your ceiling. So you'll not always get what you want. But how you can trace it?
See malice in that, or
how you can track it, because it's not my opinion, it's a fact. Just look at what the allocations have been over the last few years. It's been going up.
So they're in a better place now than they were before. Okay, let's take this conversation outside our studio, take you to Uasin Gishu County, where John Wanyama wants to tell us what residents there expect to hear in the President's State of the Nation address this afternoon. John Wanyama, good morning. Can you bring us that update?
A very good morning to you, Wahiga Maura, and indeed in Uasin Gishu County, residents are really anxiously waiting for the President to address the nation, and mainly those few who we have spoken to this morning, Wahiga, they are saying that the President should insist on the Big Four agenda and also fight corruption that most of them are perceiving or seeing as if is a menace in this country. Without wasting time, Wahiga, with the residents of Uasin Gishu themselves here, it's better to listen or get it from the horse mouth. Maybe if I start with you, my brother, leo rais anahutubia taifa, pengine matarajio yako ni yapi?
Nashukuru kwanza asubuhi ya leo. Tulikuwa nataka rais aongelee mambo ya uchumi na hali ya maisha. na nashukuru sana vile Mheshimiwa Rais alisema jana kuhusu Kenya haiwezi kuwa na rais wawili, mpaka tuwe rais mmoja, Kenya iwe moja. Na tunasema ni asante. Na unaona vijana wengine hawana kazi, na nafikiri vitu kama hizo nataka naangalie hali ya uchumi na hali ya rent za nyumba na zingine kama barabara, mambo ya mvua kunyesha. Nafikiri wakitengeneza drainage itakuwa mzuri.
Thank you, my brother.
Nashukuru sana kwa sababu ya asubuhi ya leo. Nashukuru jana vile siku ya Labor Day vile rais wetu alisema ya kwamba lazima tuwe na rais mmoja, na hiyo ndio uongozi bora.
Leo matarajio yako ni yapi kwa hotuba ya rais?
Matarajio yangu ya rais ni kwamba leo atazungumzia kuhusu mambo ya uchumi na kukumbuka Wakenya wengi wanateseka kwa sababu ya maisha imekuwa ngumu. Na pia maoni yangu nilikuwa nasema asiweze kuzungumzia kuongelea maneno ya mambo ya referendum, kwa sababu referendum saa hii Kenya hii hatuna pesa. Tuangalie mambo vile wananchi vile wanateseka, wanaenda wengine na maji, wengine njaa inawaumiza. So tarajio yangu kubwa sana, najua kwamba rais vile atahutubia nation leo katika bunge, tutakuwa na matarajio wale mazuri na itasaidia Wakenya.
Thank you sir. Mr. Rodar.
Yes. Kwa majina mimi naitwa Richard Rotara. Mimi ni mkaaji wa Singishu County. Matarajio yangu leo mimi nafikiria Uhuru akiongea atuambie handshake maana yake ni nini. That's one. Pili, atuambie kama vita yenye walituahidi wakati wa kufanya campaign ya corruption ifanyike ikiwa wameungana pamoja na president wa wananchi. So hiyo ndio matarajio ambao tunataka rais wetu aongee. Alafu mambo ya corruption mimi sijaona kama imetekelezwa kweli. So ikiwa Raila atakuwa ameingia na President Uhuru, wazingatie hiyo mambo sana. Corruption ndio imeturudisha nyuma Kenya. Kwa hivyo nikuje kwa hii county yetu, sisi wananchi wa Singishu County tuko na shida ya ubanda ya wakulima. Ulisikia mheshimiwa mmoja aliongea kwamba mahindi inanunuliwa kutoka Uganda ikiwa inalipwa cash. Singishu County tukibeleka mahindi pale, sisi tunaambiwa tunaiweka kwa deni. Hiyo kitu ni mbaya sana. Hata niambie mheshimiwa Deputy President Uhuru Ruto awe akizingatia kwao sana. Angalie vile watu wake wanaumia.
Okay. Leo tunaangazia mambo na Rais Deputy President, pengine tutamuongelea siku nyingine. Wahiga, let me talk to the last person here. Mr. Leting, leo unatarajia nini kuhusiana na hotuba ya Rais?
Mimi naitwa Benjamin Leting. Matarajio yangu kubwa ni Rais abanue ni nini iko kwa store kati ya ile handshake alisalamiana na Raila. Na kitu cha pili ambaye mimi naangalia kabisa ni uchaguliwa kwa watu 14 ambaye hakuna hata reverend ndani. Hiyo inaelekea wapi na hakuna watu ambao walikuwa naweka amani kwa nje. Sababu mabishop wengi wameweka amani kwa Kenya mzima. Na hakuna hata mmoja kwa ile nini. Hakuna Bishop Rotich, hakuna bishop ile Cardinal Njue. Hakuna bishops ambao wanaweza wakilisha makanisa wengi. Na si wao walipigania siku ile ya kwanza mpaka sisi tukakuwa na amani. Tunataka kujua kama President Uhuru, tulikuwa nafikiri Uhuru akisalamiana na Raila, mambo ya siasa imepiga ukingoni. Na tunaona tena siasa imeendelea kuwa mingi zaidi. So tunataka President tuambie unaelekea wapi. Hiyo ndio matarajio yangu. Asante sana.
Thank you very much, Wahiga. Those are views from Eldoret, residents from Eldoret town. And another issue that is popping out, Wahiga, you can clearly get it, is that they really want the president also to tell Kenyans what do they have in the package, or what did they discuss with Raila Odinga in that handshake that they really, it happened like a few months ago. That is another crucial issue. But also farmers are having high hopes in Uasin Gishu that the president will be addressing their issue where most of them needs to be paid their money. They delivered their maize to the cereal board, but up to now, Wahiga, they have not been paid up to 4 billion Kenyan money. And as you understand, today or this week is a week most parents, especially who are farmers here, are now taking their kids back to school, and they need also that to be addressed by the president today in the parliament. Back to you, Wahiga.
Thank you so much, John Wanyama, for that update, for helping residents of Uasin Gishu express their thoughts on the state of the nation, and also giving us an update regarding the farmers. Senators, Kenyans want to know what the president and Honorable Raila discussed. They want to know the contents. They want every detail. Will they get that?
Not too much of it. First thing is this, Wahiga. The president doesn't come to address parliament just because he feels like doing it. It's a constitutional obligation under Article 132. And that constitutional obligation is that every, once a year, the president must give a report, address a special sitting of parliament, both houses. We come together. I think my brother Malalah, this might be second time to enter the National Assembly chambers, because that's where we all meet. We come together, and he gives a report on the measures taken in fulfillment of the national values under Article 10 of the Constitution.
And it's in the Constitution, that's right.
And then and then he publishes in the Gazette the details of the measures that is taken. And if you look at Article 10 then of the Constitution, it's very clear around what that centers around. You know, it includes public participation, it includes cohesion, it includes all of that. So this might be anchored under the cohesion aspect of it.
So okay, so that's where that would fit.
So that's where it would fit. But there are many other things he'll give. You know, the state of the economy, etc. And for us, what we really want to hear is how are we providing jobs for young people?
Okay.
Jobs for young people. So there's a big one, as we said. Your handshake.
Yeah, they're asking about the big one.
Kenyans are curious. They are more concerned about the handshake than
But Honorable Sakaja, you must agree with me that without the big one, the big four can never be implemented.
And that's why the big one had to take place,
exactly,
the handshake.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Before the handshake, you saw the country was having a very bad economy. We were going on our knees as a country. And I want to congratulate His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Amolo Odinga for taking that bold step, because they knew that without having one Kenya, the big four can never be implemented. And that's why I am concerned about those people who want to politicize the handshake. I think the handshake was out of goodwill, out of a good intention to ensure that
you see
Kenya
only
is together.
Genuine motives arising or causing that handshake. That's what you're saying you saw.
Of course, it's very genuine according to me, because I've shared this with my coalition leader.
agrees with you.
I don't know what negative motive could be.
Yeah, we have seen the content of the memorandum. Issues of corruption, issues of national cohesion and integration, issues of strengthening electoral systems. And I think that is what was ailing Kenya, and that is what we want to sort out.
Do you think there were discussions on what we had, for example, Honorable Raila saying yesterday? He said, I've forgiven, for example, these companies that were boycotted. Were there discussions on undoing, for example, the resist movement? Do you think that came up with the handshake?
No, I think that is now the effect of the handshake. You don't have to go to the nitty-gritties and say we are forgiven the policemen who injured us. I think we are tackling issues that are going to be sustainable in future, issues of electoral injustices. If you handle electoral injustices, you'll have handled police brutality.
Okay.
And therefore, you don't have to go to the nitty-gritties.
Let me get a brief reaction from Sakaja before we look at tweets. You wanted to say something?
Number one, the handshake was the beginning of a process. You know, it's not an event, that is conclusive in itself. There is nothing that the president can say just in terms of a speech today that will then finish this entire issue. Maybe he'll probably just give direction and say, okay, these are some of the things that we're getting into over time, and it's going to be a process that will take us time. Might take us years. 60% of the work though was that the symbolic clasping of hands, and saying, you know what, despite our differences, and we'll always have differences in this country, no Kenyan blood should be shed again, and we should see ourselves as Kenyans, and let's work to correct the mistakes of our fathers, and for them it is in the literal sense of their fathers. So beyond that, we will see some great focus on the actual work that needs to be done to build our country. We must talk about food security, we must talk about unemployment and the issue of manufacturing, we must talk about all the big four things must be spoken about.
Must be, okay.
They must be there.
Let's look at what Kenyans want the president to talk about. We are getting 22422 messages on our platform, 22422, and tweets as well.